Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia and welcome back to the Overwatch Transfer Roundup. So there is an incredible amount of transfers to get through during this video. There is going to be no video printer for this video. There are just too many. It would be whizzing past and it's just going to be a mess. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the Liquipedia list on the video, and you can see all the transfers I'm talking about, and then it will switch to another group of transfers because there are a lot of transfers that have happened in the past couple of weeks. And it's mainly because some Overwatch League teams have made some changes. There's been obviously the end of Open Division, so some teams are disbanding and stuff like that. Also, the start of Trials, people are getting people in for Contenders Trials to make sure they've got the best chance of getting through to the main Contenders tournament. Anyway, let's start getting through this then, because we've got a very big list to be getting through. And we start off at Talon Esports, where we see the coach, or South Korean coach, Card, has left Talon Esports. He is now unassigned. Moving over to Open Division, or actually now Contenders Trials in America, we have seen that Phase 2 have let go of the tank Romanov and the two DPS players Sox and Vulcan. They are now unassigned. Then we move over to Contenders China, where we see the first Fabulous Fighter team signing 3 new South Korean players. These are the tank players DPS and Jung Bin, and the DPS player Soji. Then we go to Clockwork Vendetta in Europe, who have signed the tank player from Saudi Arabia and Tigon. Back to China, and we see that Light Gaming have signed 2 new players. This is a support player In77 from Taiwan, and a tank player you may know from South Korea called Zephyr. You may have remember him from the Florida Mayhem a couple of seasons ago in the Overwatch League. Then we have a signing at Lucky Future, who have just obviously qualified for Contenders Trials in Korea. This is Guido. Guido again has Overwatch League history with the Seoul Dynasty and Washington Justice. He was also at Lunatic High previously to that, so Lucky Future have got a good signing here, and Lucky Future have actually been making some pretty big signings during the past couple of weeks or so. So Lucky Future is a team to look out for in that Contenders Trials in China and Contenders China. So, moving on to Global Esports in the Pacific then, and they have let go of 1 support player, Mango Jai, and the 2 DPS players, Water from South Korea and obviously Kefri from the USA. They are all now unassigned, and we wish that they find teams very, very quickly, and hopefully not in 0.25 speed. Moving on, and we see that Global Esports have signed a wealth of players to fill in these spots. So we have the coach from Great Britain, this is Pirate Flag. Then we have the South Korean support HTP, the South Korean tank Akchon, the DPS player Elva from South Korea, and the DPS player from USA, Petal. Then moving on, and we come to Open Division Korea. Now you may have seen in the Korean roundup of Open Division that I did that White Whale Incheon Esports didn't make it through Open Division this year, and this means that they are going to let go of their entire roster. So this means that the 2 coaches, Romix and Ji Gameng, have left the White Whale Incheon Esports and are now unassigned, along with the entire team. So this is the 2 support players, Lucia and Karen, the 3 tank players, Utah, Judy and Flawless, and the 3 DPS players, Crazy, Khan and Spring. We all hope that they can find teams eventually, and we hope that White Whale Incheon Esports will come back at some point to compete in Open Division Korea and hopefully try and make their way into Contenders again. So, moving on, and we reported in the last Transfer Roundup that Asking had left Sky Foxes. So he's left a kind of a hole in that DPS slot that they needed to fill, and they have filled this with the Finnish DPS player, Beppis. So Beppis comes in for the Sky Foxes. He's coming in from Xterra, and I think he will do pretty well for Sky Foxes, and they are certainly a team to be watching out for during this NA season. So moving on, we come to Blossom in Korea. This is them letting go of quite a wave of players. So 2 tank players, that's Kaida and Calix. Then 4 DPS players, so this is Yastin, Dealer player, Cello and Swan. All of them have left Blossom and are now unassigned. We wish them all the best for the future. Coming in at Blossom though is the coach Stix2k, who will be coaching Blossom for this up and coming season. Then we're back at Sky Foxes again, who have signed yet another DPS player to fill in for those holes. This is Woob, the DPS player from the USA. He will be coming out for Sky Foxes during this NA Contenders season. He was retired, he had time at Third Impact, but he's come out of retirement to play for Sky Foxes, and we wish him all the best. And it's nice to be reporting on someone that's come out of retirement instead of going into it. It's very, very nice to report that every now and then. But moving on, and now we come to Brazil and the South American region, where we see that Horus Gaming are making a wealth of signings. So they have signed 2 players from Betrayed. This is the tank player Darken and the support player Pardal. And then they have signed the support player Ollie from Team Not Found. And then they have also signed 3 unassigned players. This is the Brazilian tank player Fasti, the Argentinian DPS player called Leviathan, and the Brazilian DPS player called Maurice. All of these players will be running out for Horus Gaming in the near future. But then we have some more movements at Team Not Found. This is 2 players retiring from Team Not Found. Again, I find it very annoying that I have to report some retirements, but again, that's the way Overwatch is at the moment, and we do get a lot of retirements. But anyway, let's get on with it. And 2 Brazilian players from Team Not Found have retired. This is Honorato, the tank player, and Lico, the DPS player. Also, I have to report a retirement from Betrayed. This is the Argentinian DPS player Jahain. He will no longer be in Overwatch Esports. So, moving on, and now we come to No Weaver in Australia. They have let go of 3 Australian players. This is a tank, JJJJ. Okay, it's a great name. And 2 DPS players, Slide Zorge and QOI. These players will no longer be running out for No Weaver, and we see who they will be replaced with now. So, coming in at No Weaver, we have 2 tank players. This is Fundray and Mini, both Australian. And then we have 2 DPS players coming in from Atletico Esports. This is Nahimi, the DPS player from Australia, and the Chinese DPS player BRS. All of which have signed up with No Weaver to obviously replace those losses that I just reported just now. So, moving on then, and we talked a lot about people moving out of Blossom just now in South Korea. Now we talk about people coming in. So, 2 new support players for Blossom. This is Allwatch and Quad Kyle. 2 new tank players, Sung Yong and Imo Ga. And then 2 new DPS players, Vanza and Gurio. So, those are going to be the new players playing for Blossom now, and they will be appearing in the new contender season coming up. So, we move back to Europe now, and HSL Esports, who have signed the Dutch support player Trispear. Good luck to him and HSL Esports, obviously. We are now getting into that point where we're going to see the first bit of contenders coming very soon. We are now seeing Contenders Trials kicking off as well, or it's already kicked off in some places. A video will be coming up on that tomorrow. So, it's very interesting to see these players moving in and out. But, going over to China then, and we see Feint, the Chinese tank player, signing up for Sponsor Taking Gaming. He's moving in from Phantom Wizard, so that's a pretty big signing right there. Phantom Wizard have replaced this tank player with WBB, the South Korean tank player, who will be turning out for Phantom Wizard now in Contenders Trials Korea. Moving to Contenders China then, and I said that Lucky Future are making some very good signings, and this continues here. So, they have brought in 3 new players. This is the DPS player, South Korean DPS player called Attitude. He's coming in actually from being unassigned, but he was with Sky Fox's LGE Huya in China. LGE Huya had a very good time in China last year, so this is a really good signing. But the other 2 signings you may have heard of from the Overwatch League, this is the tank player Daco. Daco has had time with the Atlanta Reign last season. He looked very good on that Diva. He's also had time at Element Mystic before that. And the support player Nuss, who you may remember got let go from the London Spitfire at the end of last year. He is an Overwatch League winner. So that's some pedigree that Lucky Future have got right now. And they are stacking up a roster, that's for sure. Lucky Future are a team to watch out for in China right now. But moving on from that then, and we come to Europe, where we see Giant, the Italian coach. He was head coach of Samsung Morning Stars. He's now going to be a head coach of both Samsung Morning Stars and Ground Zero Gaming, which is very interesting because that spans regions. So Samsung Morning Stars are in the EU, Ground Zero Gaming are in Australia. So that's a very, very interesting thing to be happening, and I don't think I've actually ever seen that before. Next up, we're going to talk about Hoshimi. So Hoshimi was a Japanese DPS player for Green Leaves. Green Leaves is a Japanese team that competes in Contenders Pacific. He's now going to move over to be a streamer for Green Leaves, and we wish him all the best. Next up, we move back to Europe, where we see at Shoes Money Crew EU, they have let go of the great British support player Cronus. He's no longer assigned and looking for a team. Then we come back to Lucky Future and the Overwatch League, because this is a very interesting thing that's happening. So Munchkin, who signed up with the Boston Uprising at the start of this Overwatch League season, is moving out to the Boston Uprising, and he'll be joining up with Lucky Future to kick off this Chinese Contenders season. Very interesting move that. It's definitely a step down. We wanted to see if Munchkin could have another shot at the Overwatch League, and it appears it's not going to happen. I think Boston kind of needed Munchkin, but hey, it's whatever, isn't it? Lucky Future is signing up a lot of good players, ex-Owl and not ex-Owl. So Lucky Future are making moves in China, and it's a very interesting move, and I do wish Munchkin all the best, and to be quite honest, at least he can pop off at Lucky Future. I don't know what he was going to do at Boston Uprising, because we know that Jerry is good, but he's not exactly able to shine at the Boston Uprising all that much. But staying at Lucky Future, and we have two people let go. This is the DPS player Sky and the tank player Creature, obviously making way for these new signings that are coming in at Lucky Future. And then we have a signing at the Boston Uprising. So Munchkin goes out and they bring in a support player. This is the American support player Halo, coming in from Triumph. This is a good signing. Halo has done very well for Triumph in Contenders and Open Division in NA. And I wish him all the best at the Boston Uprising, and they sure do need some help. So I hope he can improve the Boston Uprising somewhat. Then we have a movement at Talent Esports, or two movements I should say. This is WWY, the South Korean tank player coming in from Gen B, the academy team of Gen G, which is the academy team of Seoul Dynasty. Yeah, we had this whole thing with London Spitfire, I'm not going to get into it again. He'll be running out for Talent Esports during this Contenders season, and spoiler alert, Talent Esports are doing very well once again. What a surprise that one is. Talent Esports also have a new coach. This is the South Korean coach Artist, who will be with Talent Esports for the minute. So, actually a few coaches coming up. Next up, Shoes Money Crew EU. They have let go of the Great British coach Quiet. And then the Angry Titans have brought in two new coaches. This is the Canadian coach Morb and the GB, or Great British coach Yokai, who will be coming in for Angry Titans just at the start of this Contenders Trials season. Or just at the end of it, actually, because it's not far from done. But moving on, and we have a player let go at Sky Foxes in NA Contenders. This is the DPS player Speedily. Again, they signed two DPS players. We covered that earlier in the video, and they let go of Asking. So it's kind of two DPS players in and two DPS players out for Sky Foxes in NA. That's kind of what you see every now and then. They've obviously found someone that they think is better than what they currently had, and they've moved them in. But we've got two more left to cover. This is the South Korean DPS player Teru. He will be coming in for O2 Blast ahead of this Contenders Korea season. O2 Blast will obviously be in the final parts of Contenders Korea because they are one of the best teams in that region. The top four teams in that region, you could argue, are Runaway, Element Mystic, O2 Blast, and Gen G. And Teru will be part of that O2 Blast team. But Triumph, they needed to replace Halo. Obviously, he's just gone over to the Boston Uprising, as we mentioned just now. So they have brought in the DPS player Cronus that we mentioned left Shoes Money Crew EU just a little bit earlier on. The GB support player Cronus will be coming in for Triumph to fill in that spot. And I wish him all the best. I'm seeing a lot more great British talent around at the moment, and I'm really liking it. Really, really liking it. But that's it for the transfers. There is a lot, and that's why I haven't done a video printer, because otherwise it would just be flicking by and it would not be the easiest thing. If I just put a list on the screen, then you can kind of scroll through it yourself as well as when I'm reading it. But I had to go through it pretty quickly, otherwise this video would have been very, very, very long. But tomorrow we will be covering Contenders for the first time this season. Obviously we've had Open Division, we've gone through all of that, but now the Contenders Trials season has started for certain regions. I believe we are not going to see Contenders Trials in Korea or Contenders Trials in China quite yet. That'll be next week. But we do have results to talk about from EU, from NA, from South America, from Australia, from Pacific. And believe it or not, I'm going to try and mash that all into one video, because I've got so many videos in the pipeworks and planned and all that, all scheduled videos, that I can't do individual videos on each region. So I'm going to try and cram it all into one Contenders Roundup, which should be interesting. But I'm going to leave it here for this one. So thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.